Hello and welcome to the third of the 2022 live stream workshops for the Bruntwood Prize for Playwriting. Today we're in the Bruntwood Block building in Manchester City Centre, which is obviously really nice, isn't it? It's brilliant, fantastic. I am joined here by 6 fantastic writers who agreed to take part in this workshop with me today, and these writers are...
I'm Danica.
I'm Sam.
Rebecca.
Nicole.
Naomi.
Lauren.
Fantastic, that's great. And in this workshop, what I thought we would do and what I'd like to explore is the dynamic, really, between what goes on the stage, your play, I do, and what happens in the audience. So I'm looking at, I'd sort of entitled the workshop, How Does Theatre Work, or What Happens, and it's a grand title, and I wish I knew the answer. I don't know how, I could get that straight right now. I don't know how theatre works, but I thought at least we could explore that between us, and we might come up with some thoughts about that. I should probably say my name is Ola Animashawun, and I should probably let you know I'm a dramaturg. I'm not a playwright, but what I do is read a lot of plays by people like yourselves, and try and give advice and support you in creating that vision that you have for your play. That's what I do. But as I said, what I'm interested in is that dynamic in terms of the action on the stage and the impact of that on the audience. So I want to start right away, just dive in there with a very simple, very quick exercise. Which is actually just talking. It's not even right. Well, it could be a little bit of writing, couldn't it? You're writers. You're bound to write. I know you are. I won't stop you. But it'd be great if we do it. We'll probably do it like this. It makes sense. If the three of you have a conversation and make a list, and you three have a conversation, make a list, and the exercise is, well, it's a question, which is what does good theatre and or good plays, what do they do? So what does good theatre do? What do good plays do? We're going to have that conversation now for about 5 minutes. So there'll be a little break for 5 minutes while that conversation takes place. We make a list and we'll come back and see what you come up with as an answer. Hello, and welcome back to this Bruntwood workshop. So we've just done an exercise, not even a writing exercise, but I hope you did write some things down. Anyway, we'll find out right now. The exercise was a question, and the question was, what does good theatre or what do good plays do? Which sounded like it sparked quite a lot of conversation and a lot of debate. But it'd be good just to hear, does anyone particularly want to chip in what you talked about? Either side can go first. I don't mind. Lauren, I'm getting good nods from Lauren. Terrific. Yeah. Is it? Yeah, go for
I
it.
think the first thing we all kind of agreed on is like you ask questions, and you look at. I think especially if I see a good play or I think about theatre, I like to, without being self-absorbed, think about like what relationships in my life like I can relate situations to, and what questions it makes me think about my life. So questions coming out of the theatre and having a lot of questions, and maybe not even knowing the answers.
Sure.
It just makes you think.
So it makes you think.
Yeah.
Great. Good. And gets some questions. I like that. I'm going to write that down because we might come back to that later. But how about over here? I mean, I think I finished with you. Yeah. Anything here? What did you say?
Yeah, we talked about a question as well, and I think a good play asks like an impossible question or a really difficult question that maybe doesn't have an answer, like you were saying, Lauren, that has more questions, other questions than answers. And we talked as well about like it being an experience, like
A live one.
live one.
In the room. Yeah. And like about connection, that's kind of the same thing. Like if it's personal or collective, like empathy and just connecting to something. Even, empathy is it, because you can attribute something to your own life that you see on there, no matter what it is, even if it's something weird and wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think being in a live space makes that connection so much stronger than like TV and film, which is on a flat screen. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially like, as you say, if it's like an experience you've gone through or something you really relate to, it's just so much more powerful in that room with, the story right in front of you. Yeah.
Sometimes I get too emotionally involved though. Have you ever done that?
You get too emotionally involved.
Yeah, you go
Say
in the
more
bar
about
afterwards
that.
and you see them and you're like,
Yeah. I have to write that down.
are you
too.
okay?
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, because some of the things you're saying, obviously, totally agree with. But I think, the question was good because I think all theatre is a live experience, right? Whatever's going to happen, but it doesn't mean it's all good. Does it? And I'm not here. This is not a workshop about slagging off. So it's just a sort of, and I think, they do ask questions, but there's something. What makes it good? When do you decide? Unless you decide, I love theatre, it's all good, which is great if that's the case. But I suspect there is a discernment, isn't there? How do you know? You know when it's good, right? You know when
I
it's
think
good.
when it's not predictable and when you are surprised in some way, but like Nicole was like, not a traumatic, horrible kind of
sensationalist.
Yeah, sensationalist kind of surprise.
Yeah.
It's got to be an earned unpredictability, not just like, let me throw something crazy in there to like upset everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there is an element of surprise in a good way. Helps you think, oh, I enjoyed that. Basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you enjoy good theatre, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I think that
Like,
was my thinking face.
it's a good thinking face.
I think
I thought you were going,
enjoy is
what's she
a
thinking?
complicated word though, isn't it? Because
Oh,
it might
yeah.
not be to your taste, a piece of theatre, but it might still be good, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Say that again, sorry, Sam.
Like, it's what Naomi is saying is like, I think maybe enjoy is not the correct adjective, but like you can still be deeply affected by theatre. It can be difficult to watch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it can still deeply affect you, and that's what makes it.
I think that's
good.
great.
It doesn't necessarily have to be enjoyable.
No.
Is that-
Or, no, I know it's always a hard one to say. Yeah, that in-depth, really dark piece, but it was. I think that's the key to it. It affects you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I loved what you were doing this, and I think often what happens, there's something physical that happens when a piece is good, which is, I mean, you're nodding, Danica, but
It's like I can't explain it. It's like a fizz. It's like a
amazing.
It's like there's like electric in the I can't really explain. It's like electric in the room. I can't. It's just, I think I can't find the words for it because I don't know what the word is. It's like yeah.
Yeah, well,
It's intangible.
I love it.
Sorry, I'm doing this. I don't know what
yeah,
it is.
it's that. No,
Yeah,
it's kind of visceral,
yeah,
isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
that's a word that often gets thrown around, and and that's certainly that's sort of what I'm most interested in. In terms of that dynamic, it moves you. I think really good theatre moves you. There are plays that you will have seen that you can probably name now that you remember, but I'm gambling here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's because of the effect it had on you, to use your phrase, Sam. So you might not even remember the play itself or the detail, but you remember the feeling, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's and I know for me personally, that's why I sort of work in theatre, because I remember that feeling that I had. I saw a really good piece of theatre, a really good play. I thought that was amazing. I can't tell you about the play now. It's too long ago. I'm too old. I know there were a couple of people in it. I know, but I remember the feeling I had afterward. And I think that's what good theatre does. It asks impossible questions sometimes, or difficult questions, or it certainly interrogates something, doesn't it? But most importantly, the reason it's good theatre or whatever is because it's moving. First and foremost, it moves you. I think, and that's the dynamic that I'm really interested in. Is going to go, well, how do we do that? Now, of course, if we had the answer to that, we'd all run away from here and get really rich because we'd like, this is really going to move you. So it's really hard. Is the easy answer, but it shouldn't mean that we're not going to try. But as I say, so that's what I want to look at, and that's what I want to play around with. Is this idea of writing to effect, writing to have an effect, and to stir the emotions in you in some way, and within that. As I said, I'm looking at, there's what you do, what your play is, which happens out there on the stage, and then what happens in the audience. So, and I said that dynamic. There's an exchange, and I think I overheard you talk. There's a connection that comes with it, and it's looking at so how do you make that connection? And I think for me, it's this theory, which I'm just going to share with 50 million people. So the theory goes, no pressure. But for the sake of this workshop, it's looking at the audience and casting them in a role. And I think they do get cast in a role anyway within theatre. And the role, I think, it's interesting to cast them anyway, is that as the not the bystander, because that's a little bit too passive. I don't think they should be passive, but they are a witness to an event, or they are a witness to an action, and the action that we're casting them in is your play. So the action is about what's on stage, and we've all been there, haven't we, when we've seen something happening. It's got nothing to do with us, but we're interested. We lean in. It's a car crash or some kind of accident, or there's a couple in the restaurant speaking louder than everyone else, or on the tube or whatever. Yeah. And we're interested, aren't we? Yeah. We're witnesses to an event. And I think that's interesting in terms of the human condition and human nature. But also I think it's a useful impulse for us to use as playwrights, to go, when something happens which you didn't expect, or surprise, we lean in. We're interested. So what happens if we try and write in a way that gets the audience to lean in? So you've got something to your advantage to be at the start. If you've got the audience, then you think, that's brilliant, because I know that they want to see something now that's going to make them lean in. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the show not tell maxim that people like me who teach playwriting go on about show not tell, really annoying. And you go, fine, all right, man, I'll show you. But you don't. Yeah, but that's the other thing I think as a dynamic which is useful to look at is, okay, so we are going to concentrate on the showing and not the telling, because that's the dynamic when things happen in life that we get, we're nosy, we're curious, and we go, oh, where's this going to go? Which again, we want that in our writing. We want that question in people's heads. Oh, where's this going to go? What's this? And the other aspect about that is it's present tense. It's happening live right now. It's not, it's just the show not tell. So, and maybe, because I have FOMO, showing off, like, wants a trendy term. But I didn't know what FOMO was, but then I've got that. A whole life I've had FOMO, which is probably why I go show not tell, because I always miss it. And there's nothing, it's boring being, and someone goes, you'll never guess what happened. No, I won't guess what happened. And I don't because I wasn't there. And I want to be there when it happens, which is show not tell, which is, I think, good theatre is when we see the event live in front of us and we all go, oh my God, or oh, that's fantastic, I'm really glad that's happened. So those two impulses, as I say, we're naturally curious, and we'd rather be there, we'd rather see it, right? We'd rather bear witness than be told after the fact, and go, And the Greeks, they love to say, oh, you'll never guess what happened, there's this amazing battle, loads of people got killed, and it was great, you had to be there. You think, oh, well, we weren't, were we? We weren't there, and you've just told us about it, and that's not thematic, that's not theatrical, and it's not dramatic. It's just you showing off about it. So this, in a minute, we are actually going to do an exercise, trying to draw on those aspects of it being live, present action, which is on stage, and it's going to show. We're not going to tell. We're just going to show, and we're going to see what we find out. So I'll set up the exercise, and then I'll give you 10 minutes or so to write it. Loads of time, no pressure. Is that all making sense, by the way?
Yeah.
I feel I've just rabbited on, but that's new theory. But so this exercise is designed to encourage you to write in present tense, right? And it's called In a Situation, right? And what I want you to do is to take two characters, and you're just going to drop them into a situation, where first, and it's quite a lot to say about it, so don't worry, I can go over again on it. But you've got to have two characters, you drop them into this situation, and this situation, for some reason, is uncomfortable for them both, So they have a shared discomfort. So it's not that one of them is making the other one uncomfortable. They are in a situation which has now become uncomfortable for the both. So it's like they're united in uncomfortableness of that experience, whatever it is. We don't know yet. So it's coming from an outside force or something like that. And in terms of discomfort, it might be useful to think in terms of, it's usually caused by a lack of something. That's why it's discomfort or uncomfortable. So that could be a physical lack or an emotional lack, spiritual lack or psychological. But they're lacking something that they would normally have. Again, whatever that is, you have a little think about that in a minute. So you, and a point about it is happening right now, So you have the decisions to make. You have to decide who these two people are, decide what the relationship is between them. They might be strangers, but that's probably the least interesting choice, but no. Where are they? What's going on? What are they doing? Do you want me to go through that again?
Well,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I started listening when you said there's a lot of it, so stop writing and then I
Oh,
was
right. I'm sorry.
No, I can see it though.
I gave you,
can see
yeah, you just reading it. I'm making this up. Don't be fooled by this pad. This has all come off the top of my head since I had the idea. No, so it's, yeah. So there's two people. What's the relationship between them? Where are they? What's going on? And what are they doing? And I should say, you've only got 10 minutes. I've said that already, but so we're looking at like a page or so of dialogue. Don't overstretch it. Don't do it. And yeah, so if it's helpful, my example was there's a middle-aged couple in bed trying to get to sleep, but there's a firework party. It's the middle of the night, and the neighbours are setting off very loud fireworks. Yeah, so it's uncomfortable. Yeah. And what I'm looking for here is dialogue between the two of them in response to this uncomfortableness. How does that, what's that dialogue sound like? How does it go? You can write stage directions as well. You don't have to go, oh no, another loud firework. That's really upsetting. You know what I mean? You can say a loud bang, and then we see what happens. Is that all making good sense for you? Yeah. So 10 minutes. We'll take a break now. 10 minutes for that writing exercise. Have fun with it. That's always really important. Don't stress it. Just see what happens. Yeah. Great.
Play the picture.
Hi, welcome back, and thank you to my writers for going with that last exercise. What we've done is we've shared them amongst each other a little bit, had a chance to read them out, but we're not putting anyone, we're not exposing anyone here. But in terms of feedback on the exercise itself, is there anything what happened there, if anything happened at all on that exercise? And nothing is a legitimate answer.
I think like the word discomfort was a bit of a prompt, so I started thinking about what could make you uncomfortable. And also when you said about a lack of something, because I didn't always think about discomfort in that way. But then I was like, thinking about the context of not being able to do something that you need to do and that being uncomfortable, and that being stressful and drama coming from that.
Yeah. Did it feel dramatic in terms?
Yeah, mine was like kind of high. I didn't have a chance to share it, but mine was quite high stakes.
It was high, right? You went
Yeah.
straight in with the high stakes.
Yeah.
Intriguing. Oh, you'll never know. Well, you'll know when you see it. Great. And this side, any comments or thoughts?
Well, I
about
did
what
the
you
opposite of that, where I went
But-
not low stakes really, but just where I just wanted to make it a really normal, everyday, emotional lack of something that was like a seed. Because I was thinking about the empathy on the previous one, I was thinking about something we can all relate to in general.
Yeah.
I found it really useful how big something small can get. Is that a weird thing to say?
Obviously, right.
Yeah, like if you do, like plant a tiny thing, and how that can become an explosion,
Right.
even if it's something just dead normal.
Yeah. Good. Great. And not to put you on the spot, or even worse, put the people who listen to your piece on the spot at all, but I was interesting in that thing about empathy. Did you feel empathy for the situation that Rebecca was there? Yeah. Good. It's all the right answers.
It was a masterpiece.
Yeah, I shouldn't say Rebecca claims to have written a masterpiece in 10 minutes, which is extraordinary. Anything else that anyone picked up on?
I think like discomfort, the word discomfort is, like you said, it's a prompt, and also like who is experiencing the discomfort. Like someone can be in their kind of default mode, but then if the second character is experiencing discomfort, it makes the situation uncomfortable for both. If that makes sense. Yeah, so I think I've never thought of it kind of that way before.
Right.
Yeah, when someone else is uncomfortable, it makes a person in their relaxed state on edge because they're now concerned for the next person, or they're not concerned. But whatever
but
way.
either way, they can't really
they
be
can't
comfortable,
relax,
can they?
for
Yeah.
sure.
Especially if they don't. I don't care about you.
Yeah.
So can you just stop scratching?
Yeah.
You know that feeling where if you accidentally think the man's on green and you step into the road, this is at a crossing.
Yeah.
I was like, what man?
The man's on green. We're all a bit uncomfortable now. I'm joking.
But and then a car swoops past just as you're
Absolutely.
about to sweat, and your heart goes. Like that's what I learned from this, is like trying to get that feeling.
Right. Yeah. In the the heart stop moment.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
on edge
But you can-
is the word I'm looking. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But even a bit worse, like a higher state.
But but you can. You're talking about trying to create that on stage, but you can do that. Brilliantly, I know how to do that.
Yes.
But so do you, because you're more writers.
And a masterpiece.
Yeah. And you've written a masterpiece where we're all on edge because we want to hear what that masterpiece is. But you absolutely can do that, and in the sense, and that's all about again the impulses that we have, so that where we're witnessing situations, our brains project into it straight away. So our brain, I don't know, if you see a balloon and you see a pin, and our brain will automatically connect that pin is going to burst that balloon. It doesn't have to. Do you know what I mean? And the longer you sit there with it's kind of how comedy and clowning will work.
Yeah.
You know a clown will hold that balloon and that pin will get close to it, and you'll nudge me and the pin will go, but it still won't burst. But there will be that sense of on edge, and you can write that, you can create that. Again, I tend to think in silly slapstick terms, but you can write the scene of you and I talking, and I out in the pocket I go, oh, this is the ring I've got, and you're like, oh, that's lovely. They're gonna love it. They're gonna love it. Put the ring away. You go away. Sam comes in, and hello, how was your day? Or just think, oh, he's going to propose to Sam.
Yeah.
Of course, Sam, I've already met you, but but we're already thinking, oh, he's going to propose. When are you going to get the ring out? But do you know what I mean? And,
yeah. It's that gun on stage thing, isn't it? It's like that.
It's what? So,
Oh, no, I don't
going
know.
on stage.
No, the gun.
Oh yeah, you introduce the gun in the first act, and
I
in the
knew
third
there was
act.
something.
Yeah, but it's exactly that. But that's what you're talking about with the green man, because our brain, we've trained ourselves when if the green man's on, it's safe, and yet the speeding car.
That's definitely what I learned, because remember I put the discomfort item in the middle, and I asked if I should change it, and you said you don't have to, but it's not the right thing.
No, it's not what I asked you to
Not
do.
what you asked me to do. But in changing it, that's what opened up for me, was like that. That's why it was
By putting the discomfort right
at the
there.
beginning.
Yeah,
That's what opened up. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's probably why you told
that's
me.
why I asked you to do it. Yeah. But it's good.
You learn.
That's how we learn, isn't it? Going, right, the instruction was to do this, so I'm not going to do that. Obviously, this doesn't work. But great, no, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's terrific that it is opening things up for people. It's great. Any other discoveries or comments or thoughts? Not at this stage, but there will be, right? There will be, because there's more to this. So hopefully, because you only had 10 minutes, that's not very long, is it? To do anything, I find. I managed to get a glass of water, and that's it. But carrying on with what you've got. So hopefully, what you have got now are two characters, two people in a situation that is uncomfortable for them, and you may have resolved it in that 10 minutes. I didn't ask you to, but you may have done. If you haven't, great, because that's useful. If you have, don't worry, because you can still do this. So this is just to develop the drama, really, basically. It's very simple in the sense of that the situation just gets worse. Yeah. So, and it's still to do with whatever that cause of the discomfort is. So it's just escalating the problem. I hope this will work for you. Obviously, I don't know. I don't know what they've written. They tell me it's brilliant, but I don't know. But I'm guessing it is. But so, taking my example of the couple trying to get to sleep, but there's a firework display going on next door. Their neighbours are having a massive firework party, like they do. So they're uncomfortable, they can't get to sleep. And to escalate it, in my example, one of the fireworks would actually set fire to their roof, okay, for instance. So that's right. So the idea is, as I say, whatever is causing the discomfort, you take it up another notch or another 10 notches of fire on the roof. But so if something happens, so when you talked about surprises and the unexpected, so this is trying to inject the unexpected into the situation and see what the impact's about. Naomi, you look great. You look worried.
Just because I was thinking, okay, I know what I'm going to do in my head, and then like, oh no, but I was thinking it's quite really predictable actually.
Don't worry about being predictable. And I mean, it's really predictable. Firework display. Oh yeah, somebody's going to get on fire. Don't worry about it. You don't have to judge. Don't judge. Just have fun. So anyway, the unexpected happens, but the point about it, which for me in terms of showing not telling and the present tense action, in response to whatever happens, the characters have to do something. Yeah, they have. So whatever happens, they still have to have choices. So in my example, yes, the roof is set on fire, but it's not, that's not the end, or it doesn't just burn the house down and that's it. They've got, you know, they have choices. So what, and in terms of, because I want it to be dialogue, I want the characters to debate their options. So what are their options? They've got more than one choice, but that is revealed by them debating what they think they should do and who should do whatever it is as well. They may not agree about that, so that might you know, inform your dialogue. And eventually they will come to a decision and they will act. Yeah? So whatever your situation is, something's going to happen that's totally unexpected that just makes this discomfort worse. But they do have options. They debate what the options are. They come to a decision and then they act. Again, I will give you a bit longer. I'm going to give you 15 minutes because it'd be good if you have a chance to, let's say, share with each other what you've done, and then we can debate what we discover. Is that okay? Is that all nice and clear? So we're going to go for another writing break for 15 minutes as of now. Thanks, people. Hi, thank you, and welcome back. And once again, thank you, writers, for writing and also sharing a little bit of writing with each other that you've been able to do. I hope that was good for you in a constructive way. It would just be really nice just to hear again, like we did before, just any reflections, any comments, any thoughts, either on your own writing, your own process there, or on what you've heard from each other. But yeah, kind of open to comments.
I realised something,
Yeah.
which was that if so the situation can get worse by something more positive happening.
Ooh.
So if, in my case, one of the characters was accusing the other character of something based on an object, a found object, but her being wrong makes the situation worse. That's where I went with the explosion.
Right. Yeah. So you start with the accusation. which is-
She's wrong about that accusation, which is
actually-
nice,
Yeah.
but it makes
But it's
their
making,
relationship
yeah,
worse.
yeah. Because there's a lack of trust all of a
Exactly.
sudden, or something like that. Great. Very good. Yeah.
Was that a break of the rules? Just that one.
Was it a break of the rules? Well, I don't really like rules. I don't think there are any rules. They don't, not really. I mean, yeah, I'm going to say no.
Aww.
Well, you're trying to break the rules. Yeah. Not really, you know, it's that thing of, you know, it's really brilliant, your willingness to just jump in and create something from scratch. So it's really wrong of me to go, but you did it wrong, because you haven't. You know, you're just doing what you do, and in your response to it, it's the most important thing is useful to you in some way at the end of the day. Yeah. So, but you can keep trying to break the rules.
Great.
What else? Anything else that anyone discovered?
I think it's a bit hard sometimes when someone goes, oh, and now make it more
Escalate it.
uncomfortable, escalate it.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, oh, can I do that? Or does that just look really ridiculous, unbelievable? That wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So the audience just goes, well, that just wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So if it doesn't feel
Yeah.
truthful or organic,
Yes. It's like how
yeah.
to, the question, how to truthfully escalate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if sometimes it's not, you can't. You're absolutely right. You can't, you know, because you didn't know I was going to say do that. And some say you might think, well, you know, have to rethink the whole situation so that it can happen. But that's fair enough. Good.
I think that the thing that you said about in response to what happens, they still have to have choices. I think is interesting, because I think sometimes when you write something, you go into default mode and you like kind of make an automatic decision or choose the easiest way out. And then when you said that they still have to have choices, it's like the choices are endless. You know, there's so many routes it can go down, which sounds so obvious, but you forget you have choices, and you're the one writing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also like the choices between the two characters, you know, they affect each other, and especially if they're not on the same wavelength about their choices. Then where does that leave the situation? I thought, the choices, was kind of an eye opener.
Right. Good. Great. Good. Yeah. I mean, I suppose for me as well, the thinking behind that is hopefully it starts to reveal character, and you start to, you know, because it's quite spontaneous, you're just making it up now, start to discover who they are, because we all react differently to the same stimuli. You know, a fire on the roof, you all react in a different way to that than I'll react to it, and et cetera. And the way in which we do react says something about who we are.
For sure.
So hopefully that's what I was hoping. How you'll start to discover something about these people, these characters as well. So it's good. Yeah, as I say, having choices, especially in that situation where you think someone's making the wrong choice as well, and also that. Yeah, I remember what we're doing in terms of that dynamic between the audience and the stage. It's a bit like what you said about the Green Man as well, is that if you can get it to a point where the audience are going, no, do that, but the character's going, no, we're going to do this. You know, then that dynamic is electric. That's a lie where you're watching people make the right choice or the wrong choice. You know, so you're invested in it as well. You know, hopefully you get into that situation where you are trying to direct the action on the stage. We can't. You know, which is what I mean about the audience being passive as well. That they're not. You want them to be active by being involved. But, you know, I say thinking that they should get involved in that situation in some way.
Yeah, and the choices reveal, like what you said, it reveals character, but then it also is the choices are a good way of showing like what circumstances that character is or their environment without telling the audience that, because another character can have so much more to lose. You know what I mean? But we're not saying that. But
Yeah. Right. Good. Anything else that got thrown up there?
I started putting like obstacles in the way of my characters making choices, which is maybe really horrible. But I wasn't treating them very nicely.
No wonder I was like this.
I just kept like going, and another thing. I thought characters do have choices, but like what happens when things get in the way of them being able to rationally make a choice? I started thinking about that. And,
is that what you put in as well?
Yeah,
what
I did,
happened? Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like...
So you were bossing them around?
I was,
yeah.
I would like to be real
Give them
people.
a-
I swear I'm not sadist or anything.
A right old hard time.
Yeah, I don't know, it just,
That gave me a right old hard time.
What was your reaction, Rebecca?
It was just that. I was on edge all the time. I was worried about them. That was the main thing. I kept going,
Oh, brilliant. So you were involved as the audience. You were
Yeah.
absolutely well done.
That was because of those obstacles.
it sounds so cold when I sit like that.
It was cold. It froze. Sorry, that was a spoiler.
Yeah. Well, you've just got to come and watch these plays. You know. No, I'm sure the exchange will be putting them on. No pressure. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Any other discoveries or thoughts or comments? Not yet. I mean, in terms of what you shared with each other and what you've heard, did you? I mean, it's always weird, these kind of questions. So just be honest. But did you care about the other people's characters, other people's situation? And say it's great, immediate nods, which is great. But you don't have to. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to agree. But did you? And did you want to know what was going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Great. Which is what we're looking for, isn't it? That thing. But so hey, you didn't have to. But hopefully. Again, it's leaning into that impulse, as I say, that because what you've written, hopefully, is pleasant. You know, you didn't tell. We haven't told the story. We just said, and I don't know what the situations are. It's extraordinary. I've sat this close to all of you, but I've no idea what you've written. But you know, whatever the situation is, and it's still live because it's still ongoing because you haven't finished anything as well. So, but it's great that hopefully meant that if you were watching it, then okay. We're into something here. Where's this going to go? Question. And so, the question I've got is, just want you to think about this really. So think about it in terms of, say, what you've heard from everybody else, or in your group. Just think about what you saw. Yeah, what did you see in terms of your, the plays you've heard or the stars? So imagining if that was on stage, what have you seen? I say you don't have to answer out loud, just think about that. And then, but also think about what in terms of your own piece, what did you show? If that makes sense.
Could you explain that again?
Yeah. Well, I can't. I mean, I can. It won't, I can explain it. It won't make any more sense. Would you like me to make more sense? I suppose, it's hard because I don't know what you've written. But if you take my example of the couple in bed, fireworks, roof on fire, then what if I wrote that, hopefully what an audience would see is, is a couple in bed, but you would see them probably arguing about whether or not they're going to go next door and tell the next door to stop. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, stop setting off fireworks. They probably, because I'm a bad writer, probably would then have an argument about who's going to put the fire out on the roof, or did you pay for the insurance? You know what I mean? It's like what would the audience have actually seen, and they might have seen one of them running around with a bucket, trying to get a bucket of water. Let's say bad writing or whatever. But it's just that thing of what's the action, what is the event, what will you have seen? And you might have just seen 2 people sitting, talking, arguing, and in that respect, you might go, well, that's not. It's not for you to direct the piece on the page, but you might think, oh, is that the most interesting thing for them to have watched, or for them to have seen? And similarly, if I read that scene out to you, then hopefully what you do is get an image in your head. I overheard a little bit of yours, but I know it's ice involved. So so it's just that thing. What did Rebecca? What did you see when you listened to Danika's or Sam? Just so it's not meant to be rocket science, in any means. It's just that thing of, in the world of FOMO. So you should have been at the party last night. It was brilliant. We were setting off loads of fireworks. We set fires in the house. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, what did you see? What would you? So it's just looking at how you're telling the story. And if did that help in terms of
that was much clearer.
Yeah, good. And classic TV. We're sitting here thinking about what we saw.
Interesting.
Is it? Why?
Especially with Danika's, just because it's very specific. As in, exactly.
No, you don't have to. It's fine.
No,
Go
but
on.
I don't think I've formulated. I don't think
Right.
I've got an end to the sentence.
Started so well.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you writing down images and things?
Is that what I meant to be doing?
No, I didn't say do that. I realised I asked you a question and thought, I don't know what, don't really know what you should
I
do.
just copied everybody else.
You just...
Only dead fish go with the flow.
I just sat here with all the video, everyone's right.
Well, I saw it, yeah, because I thought, I just saw what you're writing.
Let's sit quietly and no one will notice.
Yeah, well done there. You were like, yeah, and.
That was really good. You took one for the team.
Yeah.
It was like,
Good. Anyway, is it useful, again, to think in terms of what did you see? And I'm not, again, you have, if anyone wants to share what they think they saw or whatever, then do, but just thinking about that in terms of what you were showing.
I think with Lauren Nicole's, the images that stuck in my mind was this lad munching chicken leg in the middle of a supermarket, and then later shoving a pregnancy test down his pants.
Wow.
I'm like, that sticks to my mind. I can see that, and I'm not a visual person at all. All I know
I
is
can
really
vouch for
hard
that.
to visualise things.
Yeah.
But I really did see them things.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Brilliant. And that sounds eminently theatrical as well. Chicken leg and then pregnancy test down your trousers.
But I know that says a lot about my life.
I want to see it.
I'm in.
I really saw yours, Sam, with your Yeah, I did. Like I pictured the whole shop. I pictured there was like a seedy curtain. Like
Yeah.
I know what the till looked like. I know what the wall looked like. Like it was just, yeah, it was
Brilliant.
really, really clear. I don't know why in my mind it was, but I built this whole building, this whole shop. Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I could see yours too, but because it was so, I almost saw it more as a film because it was so cinematic. Your idea, I could see it more clearly. I could try to attempt to see it as theatre, but I saw it more as a film. It was very cinematic, what you wrote, and very quite epic. I think. But that's also an interesting question of how to translate it into a theatre space, especially some of the more fantastical elements. You know what I mean? When she bleeds like in Tar. But that's not our job, right? It's the director's job. So.
Exactly.
It's funny you should say that, but I think I lighting designed it for you. Just in my head, I don't know how to do that, but that's how I envisioned. What's the word?
Envisaged.
Thank you. Envisaged it was lighting. Like I had red and blue and like that. And then I also movement directed for you as well. I felt like there was a lot of
Full on
movement.
production.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Trying to ask
You'll receive my invoice.
Yeah. Are you a designer?
In no way. No.
Maybe we could start. Maybe we could be your first
I
follower here.
don't think it's a really good idea to do that because I don't like
No, but it's brilliant in terms of the impact of the writing in that respect. For you
I always like wonder with theatre, like I think I write things that like maybe are too big. Like what do you think about? I mean that's not a question for now, but
No, it is.
oh okay, like
Because you started. Yeah.
I feel like I write things too big, and then I feel like that's someone else's problem, and I'm like, how much is it the writer's responsibility to make it
keep costs down.
Yeah, to keep costs down or to make it realistically realised, or do you just think just go big or go home? Like what's the best?
Go
what's the
big or
best
go
thing?
home.
Yeah, I like that. Go
It
go
depends
Yeah.
kind of where you're putting it out, I think. Because obviously, like, not obviously, if you wanted to like put it into like the Papa Tango competition, that's a very specific thing. It has to go on tour around.
But we
so
wouldn't
it's
do that because we put it into the Bruntwood.
Well, sorry.
Always want that.
Read the room, Naomi. Oh my god.
I'm so sorry, everyone.
What competitions on our
Yes,
minds
I said
right
I didn't
now?
know there were any other competitions.
We're not going to do that. So, if you were going to go for the Bruntwood, then you could write it for a pretty big space because the Royal Exchange is a pretty big space
Yeah.
to fill, and you need a certain amount of scale, I think, in the part.
Yeah.
Really? You think you're actively encouraging people to go big?
You talk to me or Naomi.
Naomi.
Right.
Well, but
I think if you're like writing Bruntwood and you're writing with the hope and aspiration that your play is going to be put on in the Royal Exchange in the main space,
Yeah,
yeah,
as
I'd go big.
Can I just say, as a producer?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
And
Well,
also, not enough people do write big, and not enough females, I think, write big, and or people want to kind of push them into the smaller spaces. So I do want to actually encourage people to write big, because I think if you want to have a career as a writer and have that longevity to your career, you have to go beyond that studio scale piece
Spot on.
and write the big stuff.
yeah.
Because there's not enough. Because I used to read for like the National Theatre, and there just isn't enough people writing at scale.
No.
Yeah, that's really interesting,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Because you do, you know, it's a trade-off that you have of wanting to get your work on when you're starting out, and you're absolutely right, Naomi. There are some people who will, oh well, you know, 2 actors? Are you crazy? Can you get it down to 1? You know, or and it's not. And scale's a really interesting notion and concept, because you can have 1 actor and it can still be epic, and it can still be big, and it can have still, you know, we tend to think number of actors equals scale equals big, but I think it would be, personally, not that we're here to judge, but I think it would be wrong to limit anyone's ambition at any point, really. How pointless is that? You know what I mean? If you naturally think big or go big, great, fantastic, you know, and let's see what it is first, and then we'll decide what we do with it and how can we can we get it on? You know, that, you know, but if you can, you know, as you say, Naomi, there's such a, we're all conditioned to keep it small and practical and producible, but we want, somebody's got to do a big play at some point. Life is big, complex, and you know, and if you're, that's lucky you, that's where you're naturally, that's where you're starting from, because a lot of people have to try and work up and be encouraged to do that and get there. So I certainly wouldn't be, you know, trying to constrain at this stage. That's for sure.
Somebody told me once, who will remain nameless, that was leading my masters in this subject, that that if I were to write something with more than a cast of 5, it would never get on, because there's 600 quid a week for an actor.
I mean, that's crazy talk. You know, to say it would never get on is just ridiculous.
Just 'cause it's not
you know,
I put 2 and it never got on anyway.
And also, like, when something fantastical, like you said, Nico, like you're writing that story and you're creating that life, and I do think it's for someone else to worry about in terms of like it can be, they can do it in more, there's so much to be explored through movement and lighting, and you know, it's like say I saw a play about someone turning into a bird, and like it was all there for me, you know, it wasn't like they didn't need wings, you know what I mean, it was just there in the lighting and the sound, and like that idea was just beautiful and brought to life in that way. It's not your job to make it smaller and more like sufficient for them.
And that, I mean, the moment you say that, that sounds brilliant. You know, like, oh wow, what was that? I want to see that. You know, I do think you get, you know, feels, you get conditioned. You know, natural. It's got to be naturalistic. It's got to be believable. It's got to be. It's theatre. You know, theatre is just that. What you can do on the stage. It's just amazing and great. You know, have it as a provocation. You know, we know hundreds of years ago people were writing, and everyone turns into a rhinoceros. Wait, you know, we don't go, oh, well, that wouldn't happen, or that. You know, it's like, well, good. What does that look like when we stage that? What does that become? You know, and I'm a big fan. I encourage.
I suppose it's what you were saying before, isn't it? About like you communicate with an audience, right? And if you set up that world, no matter how big scale the set is or the light or whatever it is, if they trust you for you to take them there, they will come with you. So like it can still be epic and have no set, right?
Yeah absolutely.
So, I don't know, I've just rationalised my own thinking there. I don't know. I was just thinking a lot about what you said about seeing things and showing things, and you can show much more than anyone can ever say, right? So like I'm having lots of realisations in this session.
I feel like you just had an epiphany before
this is what we're seeing. We're going, oh, yes. Well, that's brilliant. That's great.
Lots to think about.
Good. So, I mean, there's too much to think about for me to think about right now, but I've got to, because if we can't just stop, can we? But going back, I suppose, backtracking slightly, just in terms, and I'd say I'm delighted when you were saying you did care about each other's characters and the situation that they were in. A perfect answer in the sense, but absolutely, the exercise itself is very prescriptive. Me saying there's 2 people, and they're in an uncomfortable situation, but also, that is born out of the theory of our natural desire to lean in. That what those 2 people are. If you've written your scene or whatever, what those 2 people are to the people listening to the audience are strangers, and the chances are that if you see a stranger or see strangers in an uncomfortable situation, you probably want them to get out of it. You don't know who they are. You don't have a relationship with them. Most of them would think, oh, I hope their boat doesn't sink. I hope their house doesn't burn down, or whatever it is. So, but you do make a connection. You'll get emotionally involved in hoping, as I say, that they will get to a position of safety, a position of comfort. And so I say it's using that knowledge, in terms of the theatre and the drama. What we might, later discover is that, oh, actually, that person isn't actually very nice. So, but not that I still want their house to burn down, but we feel as the players developed, we started off from a position of caring about them. So if they then start to develop into being not very nice, it's too late because we've connected in some way. So we carry on going, well, stop being stop being unnice, and stop being, I can't say it, mate. Stop being nasty or whatever it is, but you're connected. So you've got that emotional investment. You've made an investment. You want some kind of payback of some sort, or payoff almost. And so it's just, I suppose I've sort of made a little list of things, and some of the things you've brought up yourselves in terms of good theatre, or well, not so much good theatre now, but the dynamic of how that theatre works. So the things we like, we've already mentioned, are surprises, or we like the unexpected. So we're not, because what we will do. So somebody once said, I don't know who it was, I'm not clever enough to remember who it was, but the real play happens in the audience's heads and not on the stage. So I've been banging on about what goes on the stage, but actually the real action is in your head. That if you go, oh, there's this thing happening, there's these two people arguing about the firework display that we can only hear, we can't see. And in our heads, we're going, oh, what's going to happen there? How is that going to get resolved? If it gets resolved, and it means that one of those people goes off and has a screaming round with the people next door, in our head, we don't need to see them. We don't even need to see the row or hear the row. In our heads, we know exactly what happened in that round when they come back with a bloody nose. Mm-hmm. We know what happened. We didn't see any of it, but we know what, because it's all happening in our heads. But there is still a gap in our heads because we don't. What's going to happen there? And then if the next scene is 1 year later, and neighbours there with the baseball, I'm ready for them now. It's bonfire night. You know what I mean? But so anyway, so the real play happens in your head as you project and start projecting onto the characters. You think, oh, I know who that is now. I know what they're going to do. I know what they're going to react. But if we're right all the time, we get bored. So we like to be surprised. We like to have something that, didn't expect that to happen. The unexpected is useful. We like to be teased as well. Maybe if this is just me, I like teasing the audience. So I don't know if you, can't think of an example now, but you might think it's one thing is going to happen. You might think, oh, Ola's going to propose to Sam, and then Sam comes in and says, I'm dumping you. For instance. It's been a terrible, it's been a bad night for me. It's all right for Sam. but do you know what I mean? That scene can last 20 minutes and the audience go, oh, when's he going to get the ring out? When's he going to propose? La, la, la. So we like to, to keep the tension, creating tension. That's what we like. And we like to laugh, of course. We haven't mentioned humour. Most of the examples I've given are all dark and horrible, but we do like and to laugh. So you can. So it's just useful to keep those things in mind. That making theatre, making plays, writing plays is a contract with the audience. And obviously, I'm not saying you've got to. Religiously do all these things and put them in and go, oh, Ola said you've got to do, you've got to write what you've got to write, obviously, but it's useful to think, but, I do want them to enjoy it, and, we've spoken about that word, enjoyment, and what that means, but to open something up in a way that's just not expected, there's nothing worse, I think, is yes, come to see my play. It's about poverty. And go, oh, right. Well, we're in for an enjoyable night with Ola's play, aren't we?
Bring the whole family.
Bring it. It's one for everybody. And if you're going to tell me you're not interested in poverty, well, what does that say about you? That's all I'm saying. And everyone dutifully goes along and they all go, oh, thank God, it was only 3 hours. Thank you. And so, but of course, you do want to write about those things, but you know, it's about poverty and it's set, you know, I don't know, on Blackpool Beach, and it's a picnic. You go, what's that got to do? Have you been to? No, anyway. I haven't been to.
Well, you have to go.
There we go. But you know, but you can. It's like, how do you find a fresh take on that? How do you surprise the audience? Where are the laughs within that, or where? You know, is it,
Yeah, it's like the light and shade, isn't it? And like it's in a harsh situation or people's reality, we want to find comfort in that.
Yeah, exactly. And you do want to enjoy it. You know, you do want to go. And you know, it's not to belittle or to demean anything. You know, kind of say it's a serious issue, but you can't, you just can't go in hard there. It's good for you. Theatre's good for you. It's not. Theatre is not good for you. It's not meant to be good for you. You know, it's meant. Well, it should be, but often it's not because you're so serious about it. I mean, it's just remembering what that contract is with the audience, I guess, and how you're using those tools to honour that contract, I suppose. Is that all making sense?
Yeah.
I feel like I can easily just talk, and go on.
No, I think it's interesting that what you just said there about the if it's like a serious subject matter, it's not to demean like what we're talking about, but it's to bring human like qualities to it, because we're all like, it's like love and hate, they're not too far apart, like laughing and crying, they're not too far apart. It's bringing them together. That's what makes me feel like I connect to theatre.
Yeah, definitely.
And the nuance in pieces, because I think you can have a piece about, as you say, like poverty, but you can have that light, and the lightness in that piece makes the more heavier things like impact you even more. Do you know what I mean? Like when you have that nuance in a piece, like the contrast makes the dark bits even worse, even more impactful.
Yeah.
And that's also what makes it good for theatre.
Yeah. Good. I think the engagement's back on.
Wow.
Did you want us to write it down?
Sorry,
I didn't know what you wanted us to do.
Oh my god.
The drama's happening here. No, that's great. Good. Okay, so still on the theme of show not tell, it's time to do a bit more writing.
Yes.
Or it will be in a minute. Obviously, there's always a long lead in. I'll warn you. It's never straightforward, is it? I'll just do some showing, not telling. What I want to do is just this is very arbitrary and very, well, hopefully useful, but as I say, it's very prescriptive and very arbitrary. It's that idea of, so taking one of the characters that you've started tonight, invented in the various different situations, is if you can, just put them in different situations. I'll give you a range of situations, but the idea is to show them in different circumstances which reveal something about them. So again, so we're not being told, we are seeing it. That question, what did you see? We're being shown. So let's just dive in there. So whoever the character is, then see if you can just write, a page which shows that they are vulnerable in some way. And then, if you have time, or if you prefer, you could take the same character and put them in a situation that shows that they are kind. So show them being kind.
In a different situation, or like carrying on?
In a different, so it's why it's so arbitrary. You just pick them up and drop them in another situation. So for that, you'll have to think about, well, where are they? And it doesn't have to be related at all to what you've already set up. You can put them in a completely different situation, and so you have to decide where they are, and you have to decide who they're with, because if you're going to show them being, what did I say, vulnerable or being kind, then presumably they're going to be with something or someone, and what's happening. But The only advice is don't have another character saying, "Oh, you're really kind." That amounts to being told. Exactly. Oh, damn it. Oh, this is really easy. Oh, you look vulnerable to me. No, that's not what we're looking for. No. Because you're going to be showing. So if I give you 10 minutes, is that all right?
Yeah.
Is that making sense? Are there any questions? This is really bad workshop practice. I'm supposed to say, does that all make sense? Are there any questions? Is 10 minutes enough time? Do that. Have fun. Don't censor. Don't judge. Let's go for it. Thank you very much. Writing exercise. Hi, thank you. Welcome back. And good. So, the show not tell. That's been our big thing. How did people get on with the task?
I thought it was interesting, like when you give someone something to do, so
Yeah.
like, you know, if it's just an action or they're with an object or they've got something to play with, that reveals a lot about them and like I focus on vulnerability. So not being able to do something, that's a good way of showing instead of telling.
Yeah.
Because they've got something to do, you're giving the character movement or, you know, like a thing to focus on.
Great.
Yeah.
So you found that useful?
Yeah, I found that useful, but
yeah.
I didn't mean to do that, but they just so happened. But I think that took away the pressure of not telling the audience,
Yeah.
because the audience can just see that, you know, the character can't tie his shoelaces,
Yeah.
and we can see the struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. We like struggle.
Oh yeah, get it?
Great, fabulous. How about you? How do you get on?
So in mine, I kind of just took my character and put her in different places, and I think that kind of showed how she's different around different people. And sometimes it was weird because in the first situation, it's I kind of have to give context, I think. So
Sure.
basically, her daughter, she has this dynamic with her where she's very kind of controlling and very much in charge and exploits her basically. But then when she decides to leave her, that's when she's vulnerable. So it's like her absence shows her vulnerability, because it's funny, isn't it, how you can have these dynamics with people, but if they're not around you, suddenly that power, that kind of emotion is
Yeah.
all gone. And then in the second situation, it was when she's with her fans.
Yeah.
So you can get this, it's like a celebrity famous type person. But yeah, I guess it's like the character's name is Head Bitch in Charge as well, so bitch is in the name, so she's a bitch.
I love that. That's
Yeah,
nice. What a brilliant name for a character. Head bitch.
Abbreviated to HBIC, but yeah.
Right.
Is that a christened name?
All whole stories just coming out there. Well, great.
But yeah, she's kind when she's with her fans, so it's interesting that she's not really kind towards her daughter, but then she's vulnerable when she's not there, but she's
Yeah.
kind to strangers, and it's like how these different contexts can give us different parts of who we are, who maybe aren't really who we are internally, but we kind of latch onto them to build the character.
Yeah, and it's great, and all of that can be seen, and you know, we can. And again, that's what I said about the audience doing the work, or the play going on in their head. That if we see that contrast between, as you said, the relationship with their daughter and then the relationship with their fan, we will be making judgments about her, or we'll be making decisions. Obviously, when we hear she's called Head Bitch as well, you might go,
Yeah, you'll get it.
that tells a lot.
Yeah.
But without being told, you know, as well. So top work. How about over here? What, any discoveries or thoughts?
Yeah, I had like really similar like thoughts as what Nicole and Lauren both had.
Yeah.
I started to think about like what vulnerability looked like when something had happened to someone. So my character, I think she's about 7. I thought like if she was being bullied at school, like but outside of school, what could that look like? And I thought her tie had been cut off again. And it keeps happening, but then it was like the sympathy from her grandma by like asking if she wanted a bit of cake. They didn't recognise the situation, but you kind of automatically know that it's happened a few times.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know, I found it really hard to like display the vulnerability of like someone so young. I think it is difficult.
Yeah, it was difficult when they're young, because they are young people
Yeah.
are vulnerable.
Yeah.
Anyway, full stop. But I mean, having a tie cut off, I mean, as an image
Yeah.
in my head, again, I just, you know, I actually had a reaction. You know, I
Yeah.
just can imagine seeing that. And then you almost layered something on top by grandma not even really responding to it, knowing there's something wrong, but you've got some cake. I mean, it sounds.
That's something
Right.
like a grandma does, don't
Yeah.
they? Like,
Oh,
cake,
yeah. And
bit
also,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, bit of food.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, I mean, yeah.
There's some
certainly,
chicken
I mean,
fingers and some scallop
Yeah.
faces.
Cake, you can't go wrong with cake,
That's so
really.
cute.
Just help any situation.
Literally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought about that. Yeah,
Great.
like you said, showing, not telling.
Yeah.
That's what I'm taking away from
That's,
this.
that's the only thing we take away. And some cake, then I'll be happy.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Rebecca, what about you? You got your
Oh no,
thinking face
well,
on.
The thing I learned was about status, I think, really, because
About status.
yeah,
Mhm.
especially because being vulnerable is obviously a lower status, and then being kind is kind of a bit neutral. Like I thought it was like, but mine is about I'm quite interested in the power dynamics within a relationship and how that can be political, and I think love is vulnerable in and of itself. So then it's so easy to exploit, and then does it shift and change?
Mhm.
So that's what my original scene was about, and so then forcing it into different situations. The character that was put in a vulnerable position would have been in the power position in the dynamic previously. I just think it's interesting to learn that we can all change depending on the situation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Status-wise.
Good. Right. Sam, did you?
I mean, my answer's not going to be better than theirs.
Oh,
Recently.
Sam.
It's not. So
Fair enough. But anyway.
I would never have just like picked my character up and dropped them into another situation like that, you know, just
Yeah.
make yourself do it. And I think that's a really good thing to just have to do, because then it reveals so much about the person.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you're writing, you're focusing on the story, aren't you? So you're
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah.
But it's such a good task to do, because you know the story might completely change if we did that.
Yeah,
You
as
know,
well.
and we would learn I would learn so much more about my characters.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'll do that in future.
Yeah, I think it's just a useful exercise, as I say, in terms of, you know, this is talk about the character, who is the character, what is the character, but it for me, it's how they behave, it's what they do, it's what they say, how do they behave, and you know, and how does that change from person to person and situation to situation, and as you say, you might discover things that you had no idea about, and also go, oh, actually, I want to write about that period in their life, not this period in their, or whatever.
Yeah, it's a good way of getting to know them then.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Thank you all so much.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate what you put into this. It's been really fantastic. We've had a question while you've been writing, which is a cunning little question, I think. The question is, what is bad theatre? Wow. How long have we got? Well, we only got about a minute. But what I mean, you know, so it's not from me. I wouldn't, but it's a good question, I guess. It's what do we think? What if we say? Well, we talked about what good theatre, good plays do, and what they might look like, or what impact they have. What's bad theatre? Does such a thing exist?
Yeah. You're all thinking yes, but I'm just going to say it. I think if we think about like what we've talked about tonight, about showing, not telling, good theatre, asking questions, then I think bad theatre
the
just
exact
tells
opposite.
people what to think.
Yeah, exactly.
Tells
It's a
what to
preach. I think
Yeah.
preachers or things with very overt agendas are often
Yeah.
bad theatre.
Yeah, so there are no decisions to take, or your mind isn't made. You're not given the opportunity to make your own mind up or to think further. Sort of closed down.
It doesn't encourage that active engagement.
No.
It's just, this is the message.
Yeah, sit there, watch this.
Yeah.
This is good for you.
And like what Janique said before about the beginning, like you can't explain it, like that feeling, like that fizz or whatever the feeling is. If you're not if you're not leaning forward, if you're not listening, if you're not present, then as the audience member if you're not participating in the show, then it's not good theatre.
No. Yeah, you don't feel that. I love what you were doing, Janique.
Yeah.
Everyone getting it. Great. Good. Anyone else got any takes on bad theatre? Not that we're going to end on bad theatre, obviously, because what we've been trying to do is unpack good theatre and make out good theatre. But any
I would
other?
just say about characters, when
Yeah.
the characters are very thin, even if they're not necessarily present, like, I feel like you've got to feel the character's rounded and is a real person, is authentic. Because if that's not there, you kind of don't have anything to latch onto. And characters are always what you remember
It's true.
in works, usually.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, that person, or what that character did, or what they said, or
I think bad theatre is a necessary evil. I think that we have to experience it and we have to go through it. And I think I always learn more from watching bad theatre than I do from watching good theatre. And I think it makes me develop my practice more about where I don't want to be and where I'm moving to. And I think I watch shows again and again, like on like a like a live streaming service, and I'm like, I really like that then, but I don't like that now. And I think it allows us to always remain critical. And but I think it's something we all do. I've made bad theatre. I've made horrific theatre, and I've been like, oh my god, that was absolutely terrible. No one could ever see that ever. And I don't know. I think it's something we all go through. I don't think it's something to be ashamed of.
No.
Really.
You can't be afraid of failing.
Yeah.
Because you have to push yourself to take risks, and if you're afraid of failing, you're not going to develop your practice as much as you can. Do you know what I mean? Like, as you say, you have to make bad stuff, like for the good stuff to happen.
And watching, I agree with the watching bad. Like when you watch bad, definitely you learn. Obviously, you come out with different questions, but you learn so much from watching, because you learn like kind of what space you want to create.
Sometimes, but there are some things.
Yeah,
just
right.
but
sometimes you sat there and you're like, oh my god.
If something's bad, but it's got like moments of like glimpses of like, oh, do you know what? Then you can see like, or you're making something, you think, oh, do you know what? There's glimpses here, but a lot of it's really crap. At least you know there's like moments of joy coming through, but it's not all joyous. You know.
I just mean like there are things that have been offensive.
Like,
but that's different to bad. I think that's offensive and bad are different.
No, but I mean I've seen things that are offensive and bad.
They're just right.
She's having it.
I'm not going to list it. I'm not.
No, we're not naming names. But it's a really good point though in terms of for your own practice. As you say, it's a necessary evil. We're all going to make bad theatre, and even if you make good theatre, you're still going to make bad theatre after that.
It's also wholesome though, but you can still learn from it. Everything. If I watch a piece of bad theatre, I'm just angry that my evening has been wasted.
Thank you.
I understand that.
I asked for like 5 minutes, but then I do like think you definitely do take away.
Think of the positives.
You get one life.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't need to be by the time
I
day
really
you don't
get
watch
that.
theatre.
I can
I didn't waste my time and money.
But also that is really positive and good, and I agree with those things. It's just that very specific genre of offensive and bad.
People who knew kind of think, well,
I
mean, it's all kicking off with this question. I think, but it's almost like you go around in a circle. At the start of the good theatre, and my assertion, it makes you feel, and obviously assumed it makes you feel positive things or constructive things and leads to your thinking. Interesting enough, bad theatre, I think you're absolutely right, bad theatre also makes you feel. It makes you feel angry, it makes you feel furious. I mean, I know, and theatre, it's a delicate thing, it's the one, he says, sticking his neck out, it seems to be the one medium where it's really easy to have a bad experience with theatre. It's quite easy to find bad theatre, it seems. But also it's the sort of thing that once, if you've never been to theatre and you go and it was really terrible, you never go again. People are willing to go, I'm never going to, I went to the theatre one. It's
a responsibility.
Well, it is a big responsibility, but I've never met anyone who said, oh, I went to the cinema once and it was rubbish, I'm never going to go again.
That's actually true.
But there are people out there who said that about theatre, so it is a big responsibility.
But there's very few commodities in life or things in life where you can't get your money back when it's bad. I think if I'm putting down for a ticket, you have a responsibility. I don't mind.
Well, of course you do.
things
You
go
of course
wrong.
have a responsibility, yeah.
It's like going for a meal out. Sometimes you should
Or make it cheap. If Edinburgh or things like this, cutting your teeth out.
Imagine though, he's going to get a refund for a ticket.
No, you don't get your money.
Regardless.
But also then there's taste, there's a problem.
I watched Space Jam 2 in the theatre. I didn't get my money back for that.
And
Space
also,
Jam 2 is good.
I feel this could go on all night. The debate rages. Simple question, very difficult answer. I think the thing of what is bad theatre, we feel bad theatre, I think is worth saying. And nobody wants to make bad theatre, nobody does it on purpose. And what it is about is just constantly practicing the craft at the whole time, and know that what we're doing is striving for better and good theatre whenever we can reach that point. We are going to bring this to a close, the royal we have to stop. It's been brilliant. Thank you very much. Indeed, I've really enjoyed working with you and your input and your insight. It's been so good. There is one last exercise that we I am going to set as homework. It's a takeaway for you to go away with. I wish I could remember what it was. I can't. Now I'm frantically flicking through my notes. For your benefit, the exercise will be online, will be on the website. It is called Don't Mind the Gap, Find the Gap. And what that is about is setting up the audience, what's in the setup, and setting up an expectation, a bit like I spoke about before with the balloon and the pin. But what you try and do is subvert the expectation. So again, it's what's going on in the audience's head. What are they expecting? What are you setting up? Oh, I've got this ring. I'm going to use it. That's what the setup is. That's what the expectation is. Ola's going to propose, and then, but you subvert it in some way. He doesn't propose, gets stopped, or whatever it is. The exercise, I say, is called Don't Mind the Gap, Find the Gap. It will be on the website for you all to do in your own time. Go away with it. Carry on playing, carry on experimenting, carry on showing, not telling. That's the most important thing, and carry on feeling. That would be great. Thank you all, as I've said already, but I really mean that. Both to participants here and at home. Coming up next month, there will be another live stream workshop, and that's going to be on May the 5th. Come along to writerplay.co.uk to join playwright Morgan Lloyd Malcolm. He'll be exploring how we playwrights, you playwrights, can positively affect the ecology of the rehearsal room, and what that can do for our own writing process. Once again, thank you very much, and goodbye.